Guys, Dr. Cole, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Right. We are good. We are live. Technical difficulties, these things aren't ever without a glitch, but here we are. So,
It's part of life. It's all right.
well, I'm really excited to have you. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dan Dolgin. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Eaton Hemp, and Dr. Will Cole has been a friend and partner and supporter of ours. I think almost since day one. So I'm excited to have you in conversation. And for those of you who don't know, I think Dr. Cole, you have as many attributes as hemp does. So I'll just list a few. A world-renowned leading functional medicine expert, and named one of the country's top 50 functional medicine and integrative doctors. You have a booming telecom Zoom health practice. I know you're based out of Pittsburgh there. I don't know if that's where we find you today, but I know you take clients from around the world, and they are a New York Times best-selling author of the Ketotarian, the Inflammation Spectrum, and now your latest book, Intuition Fasting, which I've been reading and is a fascinating read, and I think very helpful for me personally. It's helped with a lot of issues that I deal with, and I think it's great, and hopefully everyone can go out and grab that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be talking today. Thanks so much.
Awesome. So I'll give a little bit background on Eaton Hemp and kind of how I got into this crazy world of cannabis. And then, we'll start the conversation, and, I really want to focus on some of the other side of hemp. I know CBD is kind of become a household word, and everybody, when they hear that you do hemp, wants to talk about that. But little known, and I think should be more known, are the nutritional aspects of hemp, in particular the hemp seed. So, my background, I've had a unique journey. I started out working in counterterrorism for the White House back in 2006. I stayed there for about 4 or 5 years, and left in around 2010, 11. I'll spare the longer story, but found my way involved in a project with my now business partner, Mark Just, who's my fellow co-founder. Mark spent 23 years on Wall Street and grew up in farming, and kind of wanted to always get back to that, and bought a large farm, dilapidated dairy farm in upstate New York in 2008. And transitioned to one of the largest, I think now the largest organic farm in New York. I met him in 2015, as I said, part of a project we were both on. We were trying to get a license, a medical marijuana license in the state. And we did not get a license, which actually we were very thankful for. The program is pretty narrow banded, although with the announcement today of the legalized cannabis in New York, it's becoming a little bit more of a permissive environment here. But Mark and I really liked working together, and he had this organic farm, and he knew my background in kind of government, and asked if I could help navigate some of the regulations to help get a license to grow hemp. This is before hemp was really legal in the U.S. It was legal state by state. And so I thought it was fascinating. I thought what he was doing on the farm was fascinating. And, off we went, and we started, looking into getting a license and all the regulations. And we ended up getting the first license to grow hemp in New York. And I ended up buying half the farm, and partnering with him across the board of everything that we do on the farm. The farm's called JD Farms, and we're really ground zero for the cannabis industry in New York, and very proud of the work we've done to help make legislation more permissive, helped on the state level, on the federal level. Of course, now with the U.S. Farm Bill that was passed in 2018, hemp is legal to grow and cultivate, nationwide, which is really, really wonderful that, this crop that was essentially illegal for 80 years, or at least taxed into oblivion for most of it, is now experiencing a, kind of a rebirth. And, our mission is really to restore hemp back to its rightful place in the American landscape, that, in the agricultural landscape, in your pantry, and really kind of bring it to the forefront. When we first started growing hemp, our original idea was, this is again before CBD was really well known, the idea was to use it as an organic cover crop, because as an organic farm, you can't use, chemicals, herbicides or pesticides. And hemp grows long and has a broad leaf and crowds out weeds really well. We did not know what we were going to do beyond that. So when we planted that first seed, everything was sort of up in the air. And as we started to really investigate the plant further, we learned a lot about the nutritional aspects. And not only that, what really sold us to really go ahead and enter that market was the taste. Mark and I are both into very much health and wellness. He's a little or a lot crazier than me. He's an ultra athlete. I know your father was a bodybuilder, so I'm sure you could relate to people who take that extra level of seriousness with their regimen. And Mark runs 100-mile races and boxes, Muay Thai, and all those things. I try and keep up, but I probably lose him after 3 miles. So, but very much into kind of health and wellness aspects. And as we started to eat the seeds out straight from the plant, as it grew, it was a revelation to us. And we looked around and realized there's a real opportunity to become the organic brand of record to bring this to the forefront of the market. There weren't very many brands out there. Some of them were, large brands in Canada who were still trying to get their bearings, and we set out to do that. So, ergo, Eaton Hemp was born right there on the farm, and we started out doing a whole bevy of snacks that really played up the kind of core nutritional aspect, which we'll get into. And then, as farmers, we really don't like anything to go to waste. So we started to look at other things we could do with the plant. Naturally, CBD became something that we do. And recently, we also launched our own fiber division, which we call Pet and Pasture. And we are making pet bedding and cat litter and, all sorts of things that we have in the works. So our motto here is nothing goes to waste. That's the Eaton way. And so, we make sure that everything that we do has a home. So, just getting, back to the nutritional aspect, one of the things that, and I go around, talking a lot and speak to people all over the world about hemp, is that it's not a panacea, I always say, for all the world's ills. But to be honest, it really acts like one, and it's got all the attributes of one. I don't like saying anything is, single-handedly going to cure, disease or deforestation or, all these things that people make strong claims about. But it has all these wonderful attributes that contribute heavily to that. On the nutrition side, you could tick down a list of things that it does extremely well. And I thought maybe we could start kind of going through some of these, and you can talk specifically about some of the scientific kind of evidence and data and some of the key aspects. For example, we could start with heart health. And the kind of the omega-3s and 6s, and maybe you can explain, or if you want to even talk about general wellness that you've seen with hemp and hemp seeds, and what your own experience has been with it.
Yeah, and thank you for that story. I knew some of it, but I'd actually never heard you get to talk about all of that, the origins of the company. That's really cool. Cardiovascular health and heart health, cardiometabolic health is a major important thing for many people. And for many people, they don't think of it as an issue until it's too late. But the reality is it's about 1 out of 2 people will have some sort of cardiovascular event, and many of them are fatal. It's just not something to make light of. So when I'm talking about heart health, it's really important for, if not for you, it's for somebody that you love.
Sure.
And we all can do something to support our health. And every food we eat either feeds inflammation or fights it. And people have to realize that every meal is another opportunity to bring inflammation levels up or bring inflammation levels down and support healthy, balanced inflammation levels in the body. So people, when you're dealing with heart health, what is destructive or anathema of heart health is chronic inflammation. So that when I say inflammation, every meal can bring inflammation levels up or down. It's because chronic inflammation is really at the roots of cardiometabolic health issues. And there are many different components that come to mind of how hemp seeds and hemp hearts can have on supporting cardiovascular health. One of them is from a fiber standpoint, very beneficial from a cardiovascular health standpoint. Second would be all the minerals that are in there. I mean, we talk about like things like magnesium, very important for cardiovascular health. Next thing would be the healthy omega fats, the things like gamma linoleic acid, the other omega fats can be really good, have been shown to support cardiovascular health. And like even it being an essential plant protein is beneficial for heart health. So there's a lot of, when we talk about, I talk all about with my patients, using your meals as a multivitamin, and hemp hearts and hemp seeds fit all the criteria for using your food as your vitamins.
Yeah, and I love in your latest book, you talk a lot about, well, all your books talk about inflammation, but and just sort of intuitive eating, which I found fascinating. Just on my own, personal health journey, I sort of call it the holy trinity of digestive issues, right? I have slow digestion, I've got acid reflux, and now I found out I have eosinophilic esophagitis. All of it is brought about by, sort of foodborne allergens, and gluten and dairy are the two primary culprits for me. So for me, hemp and its anti-inflammatory aspects has really been beneficial. And obviously, just the nature of my business, I eat it all the time, but I found that, I feel satiated when I eat it. And I think that's owed to the fact that it's a complete protein. And perhaps, you could explain what it really means to be a complete protein with, your 20 amino acids and how we make 11. And well, you can explain it far better than me, but, I thought that was a really interesting aspect of maybe explaining why I feel so good after I eat it and why I feel so satiated, really is the best word I use for it.
Yeah, I think that's a way that a lot of people report it when they're getting clean protein, and we throw that word around so much of like protein and plant protein and clean protein, and not all proteins are equal. And I think that having a discussion around a complete protein and what that means is a game changer, because you can have copious amounts of some types of some types of non-essential amino acids, and it's not going to be the full game changer for taking your health to the next level unless it's some levels of the essential amino acids throughout your day. So the fact that hemp seeds and hemp hearts have all of these essential amino acids, meaning you're not getting it from, your body's not making it on its own. You need to get it from the foods that you have. So if you're not getting it with your breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you're going to, over time, deprive your body of these things that you need to feel your best, to look your best, just to be your best. And these are the building blocks for every cell of your body. So this is a very, very important. So definitely important when it comes to energy levels. I love that you said that. It's just feeling more vibrant and more energetic, is because you're actually giving your body the raw materials that it needs, that it's not making on its own to actually have proper cell health, mitochondrial health, and proper signaling pathways for optimal energy levels. That's also needed just for recovery. Like if you're working out, just a recovery post-workout is needed for strong muscles, strong bones, strong brain function, everything. It's the building blocks for everything.
Yeah. No, and it's funny. I've heard that, and there are, I think, people that had done this, one of those kind of extreme tasks or diets. I hate, don't like to use that necessarily that word, but they basically lived off hemp for weeks, and just to see what would happen. And to that point, it gave them everything that it really needed. Now, obviously, you don't recommend necessarily doing that, but it is something where it is possible, because it gives you so much of everything that you need. I think it's important to point out, too, that we're talking about the hemp seed, right? So there's many components of the hemp plant. There's the seed, the stalks, and the flowers, and each of them have their own purpose. So when we're talking CBD, which I know we've talked about, together, and is really from the flower, and that you extract it from the flower. The stalks are one of their most strongest natural fibers known to man, which is why they make, great bedding, and they're, biodegradable and sustainable. And the seeds itself don't have any CBD, don't have any THC. I think that's been the hardest thing for us educational wise, is to really talk about how, this is not going to get you high. You're not going to fail a drug test. This has no CBD. So there's medicinal value, but the medicinal value is in kind of the healthy attributes of, the various fatty acids and amino acids and things like that. So I just, I always try and hammer that point home, because it's a component of the crop, the plant, that just doesn't really get known as much. And then when we're talking about the seed, what makes hemp so great too is it could be used for any type of food as an ingredient. It could be pressed into an oil, and hemp seed oil. It could be milled into flour. You could dehull it. When you dehull it, you take off the outer shell, and it becomes what's called a hemp heart. And the outer shell, we make products. We have 2 products right now, and a number of products that are coming out. But we make hemp hearts, and then we make what we call our super seeds, which are toasted seeds. And we have 2 flavors, a Himalayan pink salt and a maple cinnamon. And we're going to give folks discount codes a little bit later in the podcast. But what I love about the toasted seed, which you don't really see out there a lot, is it gives you the crunch, which I really like. And I use it as a topper for everything from salads to soups to ice cream to, vegan ice cream, since I can't do dairy. But that's where the fiber is. And I think, maybe you could hit on some of that as well, just the important and how, in fiber in our diet, and it's just something it seems that Americans are lacking, and with the toasted seed you can really get that.
Yeah, I love the fiber content in there, and fiber is needed for lots of different things, but the one that I think is at the core, I think from a mechanism standpoint that impacts a lot of far-reaching benefits, is our microbiome. Fiber is prebiotics for a microbiome, and we have about 100 trillion bacteria, depending on the study that you look at. But that's a lot of bacteria. We're about 10 times more bacteria than human. We have about 10 trillion human cells. So the microbiome is this massive, vast metropolis of different colony-forming units of bacteria. And we always talk about probiotics, but actually prebiotics are arguably, most people would actually agree with the fact, are actually more important than the probiotics, because they actually got microbiome food.
Yeah, why is that? Because prebiotics has definitely become a buzzword, and I think it's important to understand, like, what is the difference between a prebiotic and a regular postbiotic or
probiotic. Yeah, so probiotics are the bacteria themselves. So they're the things that are the actual different strains of bacteria that you're getting in a supplement form, or like a fermented food, like a fermented drink, like kombucha or kimchi or kefir or sauerkraut or something like that, yogurt. The prebiotics are in the fiber. So the things that are in the hemp seeds and the hemp hearts, the fiber is actual, it's not bacteria, but it's food for the bacteria. So that's what's really important there, because we say, you are what you eat, which is true. I mean, the foods that we eat actually helps make our cells in our body and impacts our nutrition, but we are what our microbiome eats first. Okay, so all the good bacteria in our gut, the balance of that gut garden is determined by the types of foods that you eat. So getting a variety of different healthy foods, like the ones we're talking about, like hemp seeds and hemp hearts, helps to support bacterial diversity of these healthy, beneficial probiotics. So going back to using food as medicine, this specifically is gut garden medicine, which is 75% of our immune system. So when you're dealing with inflammation, which I talked about earlier, which is a product of the immune system, and then you're dealing with other immune-mediated issues, this isn't just about digestive health. While it have to do with digestive health, but it's way more than that. This has to do with overall immune health. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, every doctor takes the Hippocratic Oath. He said, all disease or all health problems begin in the gut. And now we know that most health problems actually do have underlying gut components. So it's just, yes, it has to do with your bathroom habits and bowel movements and gut health, but it's way more than just bloating and constipation and diarrhea. This has to do with cardiovascular health, supporting overall immune health. There are so many studies in the scientific literature connecting underlying gut health and underlying imbalances of the gut with many, many health problems. Even our brain. I mean, 95% of serotonin is made in the gut and stored in the gut. So it's actually referred to as the second brain. Your gut and brain are actually formed from the same fetal tissue. So when you're talking about foods that are fiber rich, it's supporting that gut garden. The bacteria are eating this food that really loves it, supports gut microbiome balance in a beneficial way. So it helps everything, but it also aids in digestion too.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, one of the things too about hemp, which I love, is it's really the only vegan alternative to fish oil, because it has omega-3s and 6s in that perfect ratio. And, you know, again, these are words and facts that you can say. But what I love about having, you know, an expert here with us, you know, is to explain what that means, why it's important to have the 3s and the 6s. You know, I feel like omega-3 has become another key buzzword, but from what I understand, if you don't have the 6 with the 3, you know, your lab results will look wildly different if you're taking too much 3 as opposed to, you know, one's a thickener, one's a thinner. I believe, if I'm understanding it right, but, you know, I'll leave it to you to kind of walk us through what that really means.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so it's the balance of omega-3 and 6 are definitely important. I would say even omega-9.
Right.
The balance of omega-3, 6, and 9 are really important. But specifically, the omega-3s that you're getting from hemp products, you have about 6 times the amount of omega-3s that are in raw tuna that you're getting from hemp seeds and hemp hearts. You have, I think, over 4,000 different milligrams of omega-3 versus just some fish oil products can have just 1,000 milligrams. You're going back to my earlier statement, using food as your multivitamin. You're getting all this stuff with your meals. Right. Like you said, you sprinkle it on your salad, you add it to your smoothie bowl, you can have it as a snack on hand. So these omega fats are important for every cell of your body. So we're made up of cells. We have these biphospholipid membranes on our cells. And cellular membrane health are important for your health. If your cell membranes aren't healthy, you're not healthy. So you're actually, my earlier statement of you are what you eat, these healthy fats actually make up our cell membranes of what you are made up of. Mm-hmm. So this is important because every cell membrane has receptor sites. So this is really important for proper hormonal signaling. It's proper for brain health. Our brain is 60% fat. So these healthy fats help support what our brain is mostly made up of. And so it supports brain health. It supports lowering inflammation levels. It supports joint health. It supports many other pathways in the body. And I think I mentioned it earlier, but that specific type of omega-6 GLA also helps cardiovascular health and our hormones as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's to me, getting all of that in one seed, and it doesn't even take a lot, you know, a big serving. You know, I think, you know, a comparable serving of hemp, it has, you know, more protein and more sort of healthy nutrients than, you know, a meat-based protein, or, you know, similar maybe to a quinoa, but it's really deserved of the moniker superfood. And that's why, you know, we've named everything we do super. You know, super seeds or super hearts, or, you know, all we have something, some new product lines coming out, super bites, super toppers, things like that. So, you know, I look at it, you know, rather than take a vitamin C pill every day, I'd rather eat a whole orange. And, you know, I see it the same way with the hemp seed, you know, itself. Mm-hmm. You know, also, you know, in terms of just the net carbs and, you know, have it being a low net carb, and maybe you can speak to that aspect too, which is another, you know, wonderful benefit.
Oh yeah, so much so. So this is one of the reasons why I actually talk about hemp seeds, hemp hearts in ketotarian and intuitive fasting, because of the fiber content. So if you look at total carbohydrates, that takes into account any sugars plus fiber, insoluble and soluble fiber. because it's so fiber rich, which we just talked about, is so important for our gut health and digestive health, that most of the carbohydrates are coming from the fiber. So the net carbs are really low with these foods. So it is really good for people that are trying to limit the amount of carbohydrates they're having. It's going to have actually quite a beneficial effect on your blood sugar because of the fiber content and the fact that it is lower carb. And you have all these essential amino acids and all these vitamins as well. So it is a good low carb and keto way of bringing a clean ketogenic approach. And even if you're not keto and you're just trying to limit carbohydrates, it's a great low carb, healthy, clean snack that's from the earth. It's from the planet.
Yeah. And it's amazing. A lot of people don't know hemp is one of the oldest, crops that man grew. It was really, as soon as humans started to, transfer from a hunter-gatherer to an agrarian society, that's when they started to find evidence of hemp. In ancient Chinese civilization, and they've seen that they've used it for food as well as for medicine. It just had a little blip in the radar there during, when it was kind of wrapped up into the whole kind of cannabis, marijuana side of things, and thankfully now it's starting to kind of become widely celebrated for what it once was as well. We do have some questions coming in. Again, we're joined by Dr. Will Cole, who's also a Goop fellow, I should say. And, you had a great conversation, I know, on Gwyneth Paltrow's podcast, which was really illuminating for me as well. And I think you have your own podcast that you have launched, I believe. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, and then we'll hit some of the questions here too.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So I hosted Goop Fellas, and I hosted another podcast called Keto Talk for a couple of years, I think 3 years. Then I did Goop Fellas for a while, and everyone at Goop's like family to me, with everybody there. But I started my own solo podcast, and it's called The Art of Being Well. And it's a really cool conversation. It's about these deep dive topics of health and nutrition and wellness, and beyond just the nutrition stuff, the other side of wellness too, when you're talking about mental health and stress and trauma and sleep and all these things that impact inflammation levels too. So it's all the stuff that I love talking about, but I am able to talk at length. So we've had, I think, 12 episodes so far. I talked to Gwyneth Paltrow was on the show. Elle McPherson was on the show. A couple doctors that were on the show too. Dr. Josh Axe, Melissa Urban of Whole30 was on. Nicole LaPera, who's the holistic psychologist, was just on last week.
And she's got a great new book out as well. So
yeah, How to Do the Work. It's great. And Dr. Caroline Leaf is a great neuroscientist. And then this episode that just dropped today, actually, every Thursday there's a new episode. Phoebe Lapine, who's a SIBO expert. We're talking about small intestinal bacterial overgrowth and different labs and tests and stuff. So it's a full gamut of information that I love talking about.
Yeah, stress for sure. I could attest, in my old line of work, I feel like I was in my early 30s when I was doing that in the counterterrorism world, and probably I had more abnormal health things happen to me, which now when I look back, I could connect to my stress level. And not that farming doesn't have its stresses, it certainly does, but I feel better in my 40s than I ever did in my 30s. A lot of that attributed to hemp and to my understanding of what I put in my body and kind of the things that I've now understood in terms of what causes inflammation and eliminating those things from my diet. It's funny, when my doctor told me I shouldn't be doing dairy because I'm allergic to the protein, he said, well, at least you're not a mutant. And I had no idea what that meant. And he said, well, humans at some point in the Northern Hemisphere evolved to change a gene that allowed them to help stave off cold winters and starvation to drink mother's milk after infancy. And I guess that gene has then mutated to allow a lot of people to do that. But the reality is more people are allergic to dairy than they probably realize. I had all my life had dairy and butter and things like that and never made the connection to the inflammation that it's caused. And I think hemp probably helped keep it in balance over the last many years, having just recently found out that it is dairy as a culprit, I'm excited to see kind of how much further my body and changes and things like that. So, all right, well, let's take some questions. I see here on the, we have a question from Jen about organic hemp. Yeah, so organic principles in general and farming, I think, is extremely important. We always try and grow organic, or what's our motto is always organic, always transparent. And hemp itself is a phytoremediary plant, which means that it tends to take things up from the soil, including toxins, which is why it's really great as a soil regenerative plant. In fact, they use it in Chernobyl to remove toxins from the nuclear disaster there to great effect. So especially with hemp, it's so important that it's organic because it, as you say, you are what you eat, and the plant is what it eats as well, right? So for us, organic farming and the USDA stamp is also extremely important because they do a very thorough job of making sure that there are no chemicals sprayed. I mean, you can say you grow organic, but I feel unless you really see that stamp of approval, it's really hard to really know that nothing has gone on. And all the various rules. We have a blog post up on eatonhemp.com, which explains the importance of a USDA stamp of approval. And maybe if you have anything to add on to sort of organic fruits and vegetables in general, but I think it's so important. But
yeah, I think honestly, I just echo what you're saying. What's always impressed me about Eaton Hemp is that you go above and beyond what's even like required to have that transparency and have that extra level of clean.
Yeah, and we're farmer owned, and so we take it seriously. We take what we do seriously, and we grow not just on our farm, but we contract grow with other organic farmers around the U.S. and Canada, and a lot of that's due to climate change and weather volatility, and the fact that as a brand that's growing, we can't rely on our own supply to source to all of our products. So we have to work and get supply chain redundancy, but we work with other partners around the continent that grow to the same level of standards, where you could literally trace the seeds you're eating back to the fields in which they were grown. All right, let's take some other questions. Do hemp seeds have equal nutritional value to hemp parts? And is there a health advantage of one over the other? Well, I'll say that, as we touched on a little before, the hemp seed has the outer shell, which adds the crunch, but that's where a lot of the fiber is held. Otherwise, the hemp part is kind of contained within the outer seed. So the nutritional advantage of having the toasted seed is really the added fiber benefit.
Yeah.
Rick asks, does hemp seed contain omega-9 as well? And is there an expiration date? On the omega-9 question, I'll defer to you. I know it does. I'm not sure the exact percentages or quantities there if you know that, but otherwise, yes, I believe it does.
Oh yeah, it does. I don't know the exact milligrams of the amounts, but yeah, it definitely has all omega-3, 6, and 9 in it.
Yeah. And great question on the expiration. They found seeds that are still viable in Egyptian tombs. I wouldn't suggest necessarily eating them, but the good thing about hemp seed is they don't necessarily expire in the sense where they'll do damage to your body like you would eat moldy, yogurt or something like that. You'll get a little bit of a rancid taste probably after 18 months or so. There's something called peroxide value, which is the oxidation of the oil inside the seed itself, which just gives it it's really a flavor issue. It's not a health issue. So if you like more sour style seeds, have at an expired toasted hemp seed, but it really takes a long time for it to get there. Let's see what else we got. Alex asks, I heard hemp is high in magnesium, and is that good for gut health microbiome?
Yeah, that's a great question. It absolutely is high in magnesium. Magnesium is responsible for, I think it's over 200 different genetic pathways. Very important for cardiovascular health. It's really important for brain health. as well. So it has, I pulled this up. Yeah, so it has 300 milligrams of magnesium, which is 75% of your daily value. So
Pretty good.
Yeah, it is. And magnesium can increase GI motility too. Most people are magnesium deficient. Most people are. So getting foods that naturally have, endogenously contained magnesium is definitely important. And you're getting it in its whole food form with other cofactors that makes it more bioavailable as well. So yeah, it's definitely high in magnesium.
Great. And then Rhonda is asking, does hemp assist with thyroid issues and hyperthyroidism, to be exact?
Well, here's the deal with this. Going back to this adage of today's class, using food as your medicine. What does hemp have? It has iron, it has magnesium, it has B vitamins, it has vitamin D, it has vitamin E, it has fiber. These are all actually the raw materials that helps with the production of thyroid hormones and then the conversion of it too, in many ways, because actually the enzyme that your body makes to convert T4 to T3 called 5'-deiodinase needs all of these minerals and nutrients and vitamins to produce that enzyme. So 80% of that conversion happens in the liver and 20% of that conversion happens in the gut. So back to the fiber component, healthy microbiome diversity is needed for the other 20% of T4 to T3 conversion. So you're giving your body the raw material of a lot of different things it needs to either produce the thyroid hormone and then convert it both in the liver and in the gut.
Awesome. Cool. We have a couple more questions, but I'll give out the discount code now. I know people have been waiting for this, so it was Dr. Will Cole. Bill, Finn, if I'm wrong there, you could post it here, but I believe that's the code we're using. Dr. Will Cole, COLE. And we will also be sending out some recipes and things like that to everybody that's signed up. And you can go on eatonhemp.com, EATONHEMP, and you can see all of our products there. And we just came out today. We'll be launching, and folks who are on this webinar will be getting the first receipts of, and this will play into our next question, we are making a larger bag of toasted seeds in a 12-ounce bag. We have always had these kind of single serves. And what we found is, as Beth, you ask, are hearts or seeds, are they consumed in the same way? And we've learned that, seeds are actually more consumed as a topper than as a kind of a grab and go snack. And so we've made them easy to serve in kind of more of a larger bag. And in that sense, you would use it the same way that you would use hearts. If you like the crunch, add the toasted seed. If you like more of a soft, soluble product, then use the hearts. I personally use the hearts in a smoothie in the morning, but I'll put the seeds on avocado toast, on salads, on desserts, things like that. I always love using the maple cinnamon toasted seeds, kind of like a sprinkle. It's a healthy sprinkle, which I think it's actually super delicious. If you put it in, you really any kind of ice cream product or dessert type product or whatnot. So let's see what other questions we have coming up. What would be a good daily serving of hemp? Well, as I was saying before, I don't know if there's an extreme amount that you can eat that wouldn't, that would put you over the edge of not being beneficial. But what's your take on that, Dr. Cole?
Well, yeah, I think you should just bring more of it into your life. You should be having at least a serving a day. But I mean, yeah, like you said, like there's not really you're not overdosing on this amazing food medicine. So I would encourage people to be less concerned with the specific amounts, have at least one serving size, but integrate it into your life. I love that idea. Put it on your avocado toast, add it to your smoothie, add it to your salad, snack on it. This isn't about like getting a threshold per se. Serving size is good because the vitamins you're getting, but more is a great idea too if you want to. And every day is going to be different too. This should be a tool within your toolbox.
Right. And that's the other thing in your book you talk a lot about is flexibility. And what I appreciate about, what you talk about and write about is you're not trying to be a prescriber of a rigid diet or rigid, it's what your body intuitively knows what, how to eat and when to eat. And I think a lot of times we don't really pay attention. I think that was the surprising thing for Mark and myself when we started eating hemp was, intuitively it told our body, this is good. You have energy. I don't feel a sugar high. I don't feel a crash, but I feel satiated. I'm not saying it's a meal replacement per se, but it's something where, it adds value to the meal. And it just tastes great. For us, taste is paramount because I could put the healthiest snack out there on the market, and if it tastes like cardboard, no one's going to eat it. So again, what I love and what we try and do is we set the taste, and then we reverse engineer it to make it the healthiest possible alternative that we can do using hemp seeds.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see if we have any more questions. I know we're probably up against time here. Available in Australia and the UK. Yes, although I would say check, the local and your national laws in terms of, of hemp-based products, particularly when we're talking about CBD. But hemp seeds themselves are certainly widely we ship all over. So let's see if there's any other questions here. I think that's all that's come in. Of course, if anyone has any questions, you can reach out to hello@eatonhemp.com, and we love answering anything from our snacks to our CBD to our pet fiber. Someone asked here to talk about our CBD, so I'll give a little plug there. We are USDA organic. The other thing that we do, which is very different from most CBD companies, and this relates back to the seed itself, is we use organic hemp seed oil. Again, the hemp seed oil, having all the same benefits that we've talked about, comes from pressing the seed like you would press canola oil or olive oil or things like that. Much healthier in many ways. And while most CBD companies use coconut or MCT oil, we use hemp seed oil, and which gives you that whole plant nutrition. So you're not just getting the benefit of the CBD, but the carrier oil itself is giving you benefits. One thing that I'll tease out that we are working with Dr. Cole here is on a hemp seed oil capsule, which will have hemp seed oil as its base, but will include a number of other wonderful supplements, and will be, again, a vegan alternative to fish oil. We hope to have that out by the summer, but we're super excited. I think that, that's going to be a really wonderful product. I don't see a lot of that out there, especially with your genius in terms of formulating something that really, is perfect for your gut garden, as I love the term that you use. So, excited about that. And I've got a couple of other things that we're working on, which will pop up over the next few months that, we're excited to do together. So,
Can't wait.
Yeah. So, again, thank you for joining us. I'm conscious of time. I'm sure you've got patients probably on the other side of the world that keep you up till, all hours and whatnot, and a family. So,
Thank you.
But I really appreciate your time today.
This has been fun. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, guys. And again, eatonhemp.com, and Dr. Will Cole will be the discount code there. So really appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.